Well, good day, everybody. Welcome to the Lifetime Training Talks podcast. Today is a can't miss episode. Most of us have, kind of gone into that deep, dark place of self-sabotage and, have thoughts, negatively, whether it's about coming in for that workout today, or it could be a relationship, or it could be work. It could be anything in life. And it spirals us into kind of these nasty things. And today's guest is going to talk about a simple yet powerful practice of looking deeply into the cause of all suffering and how you could end it, called the work. And I can't thank her enough for joining the show, the one and only Miss Byron Katie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jason. Thank you.
Well, this stuff hits home to me, so it might be an emotional episode for me just because of how the work has actually helped me get through some of the hardest times in my life. So it's just a pleasure and super grateful to have you on. And so many people, especially now after everything, that's going on in the world, suffer from, the not understanding their thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And your stuff is so simple. And I'd love for you to just start by maybe sharing the story of, how did you come to find this and how long you've been doing this?
I've been doing this a while, more than 30 years. And there was, because you ask, I was sleeping on the floor one night and just fast asleep. And this bug crawled over my foot. I opened my eyes and before the ego could take up the space, I literally saw without identification how I and everything was created in my world. And it was so powerful. I tried to share it with people. And there were no words. As hard as I tried, no words to describe it. So because people were asking, what is this amazing shift in your life? My entire body changed, my attitude toward the world and people and my family, everything changed. It was as though same body, different consciousness. But I was clear about one thing, that it is possible to be free of what we're thinking and believing, and to lead a wiser, kinder life. So I just saw those 4 questions and turnarounds that if people answered them, they have exactly the same experience that I had on the floor. So it's not just for one human being, it's for anyone who is open to sitting in these 4 questions that allow them to see what I had the privilege of seeing and continue to see to this day. It really is the absence of suffering once we understand that the mind is the creator of identity, and that includes mine, yours, the world.
It's so powerful too that in a split second or so, right? It was right there that you were able to change. And so many people think change has to happen and it's a process and it has to go, it takes a long time. And obviously not everybody is going to snap like that. But how often have you seen that type of change just taking people through? You've been doing this for years.
Anyone with an open mind can do
Yep.
this work, and it's always free. And no one has to pay for this work on the website. It's everything you need to do it is there. And it's just, if it weren't so simple, it wouldn't be so effective. But it is simply 4 questions, and then to consider opposites of the thoughts that you're thinking, the ones that you're questioning.
I always relate it to, anything in life is simple doesn't necessarily always mean easy. And that it takes.
The ego's involved here. The ego is going to say things because it's going to fight for its life. Just expect it, like, oh, it won't work. Oh, it works for everyone, no, not for me. Or, oh, I don't have time. Or I'll do it later. It's just like any workout.
Yeah.
The ego will talk you out of it if you're not awake to it and respectful of it, and even see the humor.
Wow. And one of the things before we really dive into kind of those 4, the 4 questions and the turnaround, I was reading in some of your materials around how a lot of times, we are a direct reflection, of ourselves. So when we see things in other people, in a lot of the time or most of the time, you're the expert here, it's really what's happening inside us. Would you mind going into that a little bit more?
Okay, I'll break that down, okay? As simply as I'm able to. Like, you are who I believe you to be. And you are who your wife, your child, your family believe you to be. And each of us individually believe you to be. So what does that make you? That makes you my Jason. Like, if people ask me about you, I'm going to I'm going to talk about my Jason. Now, if there are, let's say there are multitudes of people listening to me speak right now, there are that many Byron Katies. And some will go, ugh, and some will go, wow, and some will go, I don't know yet. and but they're responding to who I am in their world, which is they believe me to be. So there's nothing I can do about that. But I can live for myself, live my most authentic self, not exaggerate, not make small of, tell the truth. If something pops out that isn't true for me, to correct it, to start over, because I also am who I believe me to be. So I question what I'm believing about you and about me. And the strangest things came out of this. It's just like, I'm connected. Who I believe you to be is what connects me to you.
Wow.
And so this leaves you very little choice about how I see you, because I can think, oh, this individual is just being kind, or he's not really, depending on them. But through this work, anything I think ends in a question mark. So with this beautiful open mind, beautiful meaning that's how I experience my mind, but that doesn't mean that's how people are going to hear me.
Yeah.
So you know what this does, Jason? It's if I'm not connected to someone in the world, it's on me. So I'm going to suffer until I see you by nature. I could say that, meaning out of my most open, caring mind and heart.
Wow. And so, you talk about meeting your internal wisdom, and, almost like this process is a form of meditation. Let's dive into that, and then we'll dive into the questions and kind of how to work through those.
Okay, so when you say let's dive into that, I'm thinking, well, let's dive into the question. So ask the question again.
Yeah, no problem.
What do you want to
I've read, well, this, how because most people look at meditation as this, form of sitting in silence, right? Where, this is, you're saying, a form of meditation where, meeting your internal wisdom so you could identify what's happening within you and the thoughts and feelings that are going on within you. So
let's say I'm walking down the street, and I see someone I know, and I pass them, and they don't say hello. And so I'm kind of past them by the time I realized it. So I don't say anything either. So I'm walking down the street, and I'm thinking, she ignored me. And it ends in a question mark. Whereas before that experience on the floor, I would believe she ignored me. But now it's followed with a question mark, which comes automatically with this practice for anyone that sits in it. The work is a way to identify and question the thoughts that cause suffering and discontent in our lives.
Got it. Well, let's dive into it. So, would you mind going through what the 4 questions are?
The first one is, for example, she ignored me. The first one is it true? She ignored me. The second one is, can I absolutely know that it's true? She ignored me.
So with those two, obviously those are very similar, but the purpose of kind of asking that second question again, would you mind explaining that?
Yes. It used to be 3 questions in a turnaround, and I wanted people to have opportunity to experience what stillness is, what a meditative experience really looks like. So is it true she ignored me? Yes. And then they would just move to that third question. So I just wanted people, to support them, to slow down. Can I really know that it's true? She ignored me. So now I'm slowing it down. And then to slow it down again, now that I'm still, how do I react? What happens in this situation right here, right now? How did I react in that situation when I believed the thought she ignored me? So now I see, as I meditate in that, I see when we were friends in the past, and then I see something I start looking for, something I said or something I did that would cause her, or something someone said about me, or what, there must be a buzz out there about something I said or did. And when I believe the thought, she ignored me. And then I see the images of the future, of how my reputation is going to be ruined, and how she's going to continue to tell people, and how she saw me on the street, but she didn't speak to me because of that. Yeah. Now, see, that's a lot. And all that happened was I passed someone I knew on the street, and I didn't even notice her until I was really just that last passing moment. Yeah. And all of this is going on in me. So is she the cause of my suffering, or am I? Wow. As I look at that the illusion of the past, meaning that is not I in the past, that is not I in the future, whose reputation is going to be ruined as I continuing walking down the street. And then the last question, the 4th question, walking down the street, who would I be without the thought? She ignored me. So I'm going to test that. This is an invitation to meditation. And it's just a question. I'm not asking people to invite themselves. Who would you be forever without it? It's not that. Just who would I be walking down the street without the thought she ignored me? So now all of a sudden I notice the sun shining, or it's raining, or the shadows on the pavement. I notice the people. I notice I'm awake. I'm aware. I'm okay. My reputation's not ruined. I don't think it out that way. It's just that I'm free. Yeah. And then I invite people, to turn it around, and it looks like she ignored me, turned around, I ignored her. Could have turned around and gone back. I saw it at the last moment. That gives me time. And really, it's never too late. I can call her, I can text her, I can whatever I want, and say, I feel like I ignored you on the street, and I didn't turn around. I just left it that way. But I was so, what's going on in your life? And if I offended you, I apologize. And what's going on in your life? And I'm glad to run into you, whether I spoke or, it's a whole conversation.
Yeah. It's a different.
Other than I see her in the future. Now I'm going to have to watch out and see where she is, because I can't go to that coffee shop if she's in there. Past, future, we're just living out of this false identity as I am the one was snubbed by a friend.
Yeah. And the turnaround then is, you went through that quickly, but would you explain that so that people understand what the turnaround is?
She ignored me, turned around. I'm just going to try on opposites. It doesn't mean they're true. I'm just going to try them on like a new pair of shoes. She ignored me, turned around. I ignored her. And I'm just meditating that, yeah, it wasn't too late for me to turn around. And my ego stepped in before it took me over, before I could had the courage. You see how it cost me courage?
Yep.
It cost me the courage just to go back and say hi and just test. Is she ignoring me? So I ignored her. She ignored me, turned around. She did not ignore me. Now, how could that be? Maybe her mind was somewhere else. Maybe she was so entranced in something like I was that she didn't see me either. And then I can try them on, test them, but it is my job to set me straight from any kind of fear, discontent, separation, lack of caring toward myself and others.
Well, and the thing I was saying too is the analogy was also the action, right? So I want to make sure that everybody wasn't confused, and that the turnaround in this case was both, can I turn around to talk to the person, but the turnaround in the process is to think of the opposite thought.
Yes, that I can test those turnarounds.
Yeah.
I can test them. And then she ignored me, I ignored her. And I can, when I see that, it's just natural that I would go back, unless I'm too far down the street, and I would go back by text or phone or email.
Yeah. And this great analogy, but I mean, folks out there, think about this, with those that maybe struggle with, relationships, or struggle with, getting to the gym, and that's what you're trying to do. This process helps you, cycle through that.
See how that woman, if she belonged to, if she was a member of my gym, or my club, whatever, if she were a member, how I wouldn't want to, how that would affect my showing up for my workout. It's not a little thing. So this is like picking up, the work is like picking up breadcrumbs along life's path. That we can be the best that we can be, and the ego doesn't have the power to hold us back any longer. And we're right mind.
And what's powerful too, I mean, in today's age, with so many people working virtually and from home and not in the offices, and a lot of cases, there's a year and a half ago, a lot of people, a lot of companies were solely in the office, so you were getting constant feedback, whether it was positive or negative, taking you in a downward spiral or upward spiral, but you were getting something. Where now I think, more and more people being secluded, being alone, and not having a way to work through, am I valued? Am I not? Well, I'm not getting that feedback anymore. So, again, the power of, how this equates throughout your life and how to utilize it is just so powerful.
It is, ultimately, we're the only ones we're dealing with. The work is just about just waking up to it.
Wow. Well, one of the things too that's talked about that I read and going through it myself is how vital it is to not do kind of what we just did, where we kind of thought it through, but actually writing it down. And obviously, and again, in the show notes, we'll have links. The beauty and of all this, like, you said earlier, is it's free. You can get all of this stuff on the website. You could download it. You can use it. You can read about it. But you talk about how important it is to write the information down as opposed to just thinking through the process.
It is so important. It's because the ego will talk us out of it. It'll switch what it thinks. So the cause of all suffering and discontent, the cause of all of it is what we're thinking and believing in any given situation. That is the cause of our suffering, discontent, or we could say low self-esteem, the feeling of being unloved. It's depression. I mean, so the cause of all suffering, what we're thinking and believing in any given moment. And so I invite people to get really still identify what they're thinking and believing, and answer 6 simple questions on that Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. Always byronkatie.com. No charge. You don't have to sign up for anything. You just rent it. Answer those 6 questions and then question them with those 4 questions. And then just find opposites, try them on, see what fits. And that's it.
Wow. And the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, would you mind just explaining kind of overview of what that is?
It is a way to identify, to find a situation. It'll show up in your mind's eye, and you identify what you were thinking and believing in that situation where you were maybe angry, hurt, or for any reason, and then identify the emotion. What was the emotion? I was standing in the kitchen with Paul, and we were in this huge argument, this awful disagreement. And I'm angry, furious. No, I was furious. So I'm going to get honest about the emotion. And also on byronkatie.com, we have an emotions list. So people not in touch with their emotions, they don't understand, you can name them, get in touch with it. And it's very freeing, just that much. So find the emotion. So I'm angry with who? Paul, because he lied to me. Okay, so you see, I'm just filling in blanks. And then the next one on the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, the next question is, what did I want in that situation? I want Paul to tell me the truth. You see how I'm in present tense now? I'm being there now. I am literally meditating in that situation with Paul years ago. It still came back to me. So that's a Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. So I want Paul to tell me the truth.
Wow.
I want him to stop lying to me. Okay, any other wants? Let's see, in that situation. Okay, so now I'm going to move to number 3. So what advice would I offer him to get what I want? What advice would I offer him? So you see how I have to meditate in that situation from here now. Okay, so he should tell me the truth. He should apologize for the words, for his words. He shouldn't be such a liar. So you see, I'm unrefined. And if I was thinking it then, it belongs on paper. Okay. So the next one is, what do I need to be happy in that situation? What is it I needed to be? So this is such a download of oneself in that situation. What did I need to be happy? Like, so in that situation, what I need to be happy? I need him to stop arguing with me. I need him to admit that he's wrong. Let's see, would that make me happy? And my ego may come in and say, oh no, that wouldn't make me happy. No, in that situation, in that time and place, I really thought that would make me happy. So it belongs on that page. Okay, so the next one is what were my thoughts about him? Paul's a liar. He's disrespectful. He doesn't love me. He doesn't really care. And he's a liar. You see, I can throw that in, that I am answering these questions, just me with me, no one looking, answering these 6 questions on the worksheet. And then the last one, the 6th one, is, what is it about Paul and that situation I never want to experience again? And then I answered the question, okay, in that situation, What is it I never want to experience with him again? I don't ever want Paul to lie to me again. And then, my ego might say, I never want to speak to him again. The ego can be very childish, but that's what belongs on paper, because that's what's going on in those situations. Otherwise, we would not be angry. We would not be at war with ourselves or any other human being.
So it's almost too is being so aware to listen to the noise, if you want to call that the ego, and all of the noise that is out there, as much as it is writing things down. It's how
We're
are you
breaking
reacting?
We're breaking it down rather than saying, oh my gosh, I just don't feel like going to the gym today. Why? Why? It's got to be the ego at work. I'm too tired. Okay. I go to Byron Katie's website and I print out a one belief at a time worksheet. It's right there. And I print it out and I fill it in. I'm too tired to go to the gym today. Is it true? Yes. The ego wants to answer. It wants to speak first. But can I absolutely know that it's true? I'm too tired to go to the gym. So now I'm slowing down a little. And now I'm wondering, what is tired? And then I'm noticing that if I don't compare, like me in the past with energy and enthusiasm, and me in the past with tired, if I'm not comparing those two, and I sit in it and I see it's a mind's play. What is tired? Okay, so I answered that question, too tired to go to the gym. It's still either a yes or no. It's one syllable either way. It's not yes because or no and well, the reason is. It's just yes or no. And then that third question, how do I react when I believe the thought I'm too tired to go to the gym? Oh my goodness. I'm seeing the couch. I'm seeing a movie I want to see on my
Yep.
I'm seeing,
Maybe you're seeing a vision, of the future that you don't want or that you want, right?
yeah. And I see specifically, I'm sitting in a movie and I'm experienced physically what I'm witnessing in the movie. It's as though if you watch a movie that's sad, you cry when you're in the theater, or you're energized, or you're laughing and these same movies are going, that movie of I in the future, I in the past. And then as we witness those movies of the past, future, those I ams, that is the cause of the tiredness. I can't say it's, Jason, it's like if I say I'm never going to eat chocolate ice cream again, and then I say or do something that let's say I feel guilty over. What am I going to do with that? For me, it's a worksheet.
I love it.
What am I going to do with that otherwise? I see an image of the ice cream in my freezer as I'm mowing the lawn or watching television or whatever it is, texting. I see an image, and so if we play with that a while, if you imagine like biting into a big juicy lemon, and just imagine doing that right now. Now notice how that affected you physically, and there was no lemon in your hand or mouth. That's what we're up against. We're talking about ego. So you experience that physically. So that is, you could not stop it. So to see chocolate cake, chocolate ice cream, whatever it is in the freezer, it's as though I've already eaten it, just like the lemon. And we hear in 12-step programs, you can't take that first drink. Well, you just did. You lemoned it. You ice creamed it. You saw an image of you in front of television when it was time to go to the gym. You're up against the power that creates this false world we live in, this false I. And so to wake up to that is not a little thing. You can see when the ego's at play, and the guilt goes away, meaning wisdom takes the place of insanity, meaning being ruled by an ego, and it leaves wisdom and a curiosity about life. And when you're in the dream of past future, you're not, because you're awake. You have set in a meditative practice, and you're awake to the dream, awake to the I, not I.
It feels too as though, there's so many people out there talking about willpower, and either you have it or you don't. But this practice almost allows you to develop the skill of developing willpower in your particular analogy.
Up to reality is to wake up again. I use the word again, to a sane you, and not an ego thrown around and thrown off walls and ceilings, and to lose control of our life. And so many people, we do workouts because it helps us with depression and gives us energy, a healthier life. But all that oxygen getting to your brain clears it, and that's what the work does. But it's the work is a workout. I don't call it the work for nothing.
Well, I'd like to end with, some of the more common roadblocks. I mean, you've taken us through the process. Obviously, not everybody's going to have you at their side when they're doing it, kind of trying to figure it out. And I know I struggled with it several times. But, what have you seen as some of the most common roadblocks that come into play? And, if you have a tip or two on a couple of them to try to overcome them, would be great.
You mean reasons why I would talk myself out of doing the work?
Yeah. So now, I'm in the process. Let's say I've made it past the I'm going to do it, and now I'm in it. And where have you seen most people like stop, stumble, ask questions in your experience?
I'll do it later. The ego will offer, I'll do it later. It doesn't really work. So now the ego's just talked me out of it. Well, I'll pull it up on the website tomorrow. I'm talking me out of it. It's like the ego will offer up whatever it takes to be left undiscovered.
Yep.
And that is to lead. I think it was Socrates that said, an unquestioned life is not worth living. And I have come to see that is so true.
Wow. That's powerful.
Jason, when the work found me, I heard like my mind, this clear mind, when I got up, because I was agoraphobic and just really, really depressed for more than a decade. But when the work found me, I would just experience things like walk or die. It's like, what? And all I knew, there was nothing, no ego to argue with it. So I'd get up and walk, just like I get up and go to the gym. It was just a clear mind with no argument inside of me. It's like, do the dishes. I just do it. So it's effortless. But the way I used to do the dishes, I hear do the dishes. Well, it's not my turn. Well, why would I? Or I'll do them later.
Gotta tell the kids that one too.
Yeah. And so we're living our life against, running up against a current that we can't win, but we can. I see the ego as a terrified child fighting for existence, and it can never be physical. It's not a physical thing, it's mental. So it's fighting for a life that can never have. So it thinks like this body, this is I. But to question that, the ego, as I see, is just an unwanted child And I've learned that to identify what I'm thinking and believing is to give the ego its due. What creates a whole false world. I find respectful to give it its due, and that's what that judge your neighbor worksheet. What is it that it wants me to hear? So I move it from my head to paper. I question it, and then the ego eventually it finds a home in itself. It can rest in the wisdom that met it. It's no longer at war. So that's a very um, uncluttered life.
For sure.
And a life of action. But when the work found me, I weighed a little over 200 pounds, and I would start to put something in my mouth, and the ego wasn't there to tell me it was good or bad or anything. It just like crazy, and I just put it down. It looked crazy, and I've been doing that morning walk for over 30 years, and walk or die to me means the difference between peace and not peace, or life and no life.
Wow. Well, I couldn't thank you enough for, being on the show, spending more time going through this. Obviously, I'll put in the show notes where you can get more information. And I know she does live webinars on a weekly basis as well to help people. But anything else, anything that you have that you want to share with the audience before we go?
Yeah, that freedom's possible, and everything you need to get free is inside of you. And there is a way to question what's inside of you if it's holding you back. And yeah, I have this program that's so much fun, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific to 10, and it's the work live, and boy, do we have some amazing drop-ins. So everyone welcome.
Okay, and I'll put that in there. Well, again, I can't thank you enough for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've learned, obviously, doing this stuff is almost therapeutic in a way too, as we tell our stories and as we share different experiences and think through it in a different way. So, audience thanks you. I thank you, and I wish you the absolute best.
Thank you, Jason.